I think it
sorry,
should be
I'm just a bit
until we
confused here.
hear from the
Procedurally, I
clerk.
think, Madam, it's not my place to say it, but I think Madam Jennings is out of order in that I was in the middle of a point of order and she interrupted it with something. I guess it's a point of extra privileged order because it's coming from Madam Jennings. That seems to be her normal belief system. That allows her to supersede anything else. Her normal course of action is now to invite you to make a ruling, then get a vote against your ruling in order to shut down debate, which is really what she's trying to do here. I just want to draw your attention. Section 91.1 sub 1 is where we are covered. At the beginning of the first session of a parliament, and thereafter as required, the Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs shall name one member from each of the parties recognized in the House and a chair from the government party to constitute the subcommittee on private members' business, which shall be empowered to meet forthwith after the establishment or replenishment of the order of precedence to determine whether any of the items placed in the order of precedence are non-votable according to the criteria adopted by the Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs, provided that no item shall be considered by the House unless the conditions set out in Section 2 of the Standing Order or one of the conditions in Standing Order 92(1)(b) has been satisfied, all of which are the four criteria we discussed. Now, it then goes on in the report of the subcommittee. After it has met, pursuant to Section 1 of the Standing Order, which I just read, the Subcommittee on Private Members' Business shall forthwith deposit with the Clerk of the Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs a report recommending that the items listed therein, which have determined should not be designated non-votable, be considered by the House, and that report, which shall be deemed to have been adopted by the Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs, shall be presented to the House at the next earliest opportunity as a report of that committee, and shall be deemed concurred in as soon as it's presented. You'll notice that basically completes for the discussion of our subcommittee. Nothing in there says we shall meet in camera. The meeting in camera has been a practice. It is not a requirement. And when I consult Marlene Jennings, Mr. Chairman, I noticed that it does make reference to our subcommittee meeting in camera, but it makes so in an edition of Marlene Jennings order, which came out in the year 2000. In the year 2000, I believe it was 2002 or 2003, the Procedure and House Affairs Committee changed the criteria under which standing, or rather private members' bills are dealt with. And among the changes was the fact that we went from saying there are 10 items allowed to be votable in each Parliament or each session of Parliament to saying that all items are deemed votable unless they are non-votable for one of the following reasons. The criteria changed too. So if you read Marlene Jennings, you see that it's referring to a completely different world in which you have essentially members bidding against each other, coming before the committee, the subcommittee, and making their pitch to the subcommittee. Right? So it says, it talks about, if you'll forgive me, here we are. As soon as practicable, after the order of precedence has been established at the beginning of each session, but not less than 10 days, sitting days after that date, the Standing Committee on Procedure and House Affairs must meet to select from the items placed on the order of precedence as a result of the draw. Up to 10 items to be designated as votable items. Up to 10 items in a parliament. This is Marlene Jennings when they're saying the meetings should occur in camera. So this is a very different world they're referring to. Now listen what happens next. Being selected as votable should not be construed as a guarantee the House will adopt the bill or motion. Certain items which may be selected as votable are nonetheless not to be included as part of the list of 10 votable items since they were not placed in the order of precedence as a result of the draw. And they go on and list off some of the criteria that are going on. But the expectation here is, at that time, was that the committee would consult. The subcommittee would consult with the sponsors of each bill. And I just quote from Marlene Jennings again. This is on page 909. It has been the practice since 1986 for the committee to consult with the sponsors of each bill or motion placed on the order of precedence before making its selection of votable items. Each member sponsoring an item in the order of precedence is invited to appear before the committee in a public meeting to make a short presentation explaining why his or her item warrants additional debate and being put to a vote in the House. Each presentation may be followed by a brief question and answer period. The committee has traditionally selected votable items by consensus rather than on the basis of votes. A member may ask the committee not to select his or her item as votable by notifying the clerk of the committee. This item will remain on the order of precedence and be debated as a non-votable item. So this is a very, very different world in which members were making special pleading before this subcommittee as to whether or not their items should be designated votable. Sometimes they'd have to speak as to why their item should be put on the list as opposed to another person's item. Frequently they were of a similar nature. It was often the case that you'd have more than one member presenting on the same day or even at the same time in order to work out which of a number of items should be designated votable. So it would have been conceivable under those rules that Ms. Hepner, Bill C-391, and Mr. Breitkreuz's Bill C-301 would have come before this committee together. They would have made their case as to which of the two should be made votable, and in the end, the committee could have said we choose one over the other. Or I suppose they could have said we shall choose neither. But the point is, what you didn't have is a situation in which items were dealt with in a court of Star Chamber with the person not having the right to be there to see how their item was dealt with no record of what happens, and indeed with the sanction of contempt of Parliament against anybody who indicates what's going on, including actions taken by members to kill something on the basis of completely unparliamentary criteria, on the basis of just rewriting the rules as they see fit, or their interpretation of the rules as they see fit. As in,
we'll wrap up your point of order. I want to get on with the motion.
Yes, absolutely. What is going on is a reference to a rule that does not exist in terms of requirement that we be meeting in camera. What is being done is an effort to ensure that Bill C-391 can be killed quietly by the other parties, the opposition parties, in order to ensure that they don't have to suffer the embarrassment of revealing that they, in fact, promised one thing.
I'm going to call the motion if we're going beyond the point of order. So I'm going to call the, someone has to make a motion. You made the motion that we move in camera, Ms. Jennings? Okay.
I move that this subcommittee move in camera.
Okay, it's non-debatable, non-amendable. All agreed that we move in camera? Recorded vote? Okay.
Madame Jennings.
Oui.
Madame Gagnon.
Oui.
Ms. Charleton.
Yes.
Mr. Reid.
No.
Okay, that motion is carried. We'll move into camera.
We suspend.
We suspend for 5 minutes.